Hey everybody, welcome to Cut Transform Glue. In this video I'm gonna finish detailing the robot. I'm gonna show you guys how I made the Gatling gun, the radar and some other parts. Let's begin with the Gatling gun. I had this black plastic piece here that was taken from a dead printer and it looks a lot like a Gatling gun body. I also had these, I believe it's brass tubes, and on the laser CNC I made this round piece here with the holes for the tubes. So as you can see, I already had the basic shapes for the Gatling gun. I felt that this one had too many details, so I started removing most of them with my Dremel. I don't want to remove all the details of the piece, so I have to carefully take off what I feel is working against the aesthetic of the part. And I did the final adjustments with some Chiron tools, and I also did some sanding. I took some measurements from the brass tubes before going to the laser CNC, so these parts they fit together real tight. Once all of the brass tubes were glued to this laser cut piece, I just had to glue the tip of each barrel with some extra brass tubes that I had. And I made this MDF cover here to the place where the barrels join the Gatling gun body. I glued these axes here on the barrels, and I did a hole in the Gatling gun with the same diameter. And at the end I felt that this MDF cover here wasn't good enough for the gun, so I changed, and you guys will see that in a minute. Then I had this plastic medicine flask here, and I glued that to the back of the black plastic thing that I started with. Once the Gatling gun had a good size and was in a good shape, I started adding some details. So I went on my junk box and I started grabbing the pieces that I felt like would make this look badass. I'll use this piece right here to make the place where the ammo enters the Gatling gun. And I went and put the first coat of primer just to see what was going on and if I was happy with the overall shape. And I felt quite happy with how it looked on the robot, but I had a feeling that this wasn't strong enough, so I decided to make an arm that would connect the body to the Gatling gun. And this made total sense. It looked like a pneumatic piece that would control the height of the Gatling gun. So then I just had to make the connection parts. And this simple addition to the Gatling gun made a huge difference on the design. Now this thing looked more realistic and make more sense in my opinion. Then I started working on the radar. And the challenge here really is to make this to not look like a webcam. So I took it apart and I started looking what I could change to make this different and where to add more pieces, what to take off. And this delicate piece here gave me the most trouble. I didn't want to keep this round hole here because that was very characteristic of a webcam. So again I took my Dremel with my thin saw and I started really carefully removing material from this already fragile piece. And I ended up with this bigger gap here where I'll put the array of sensors and cameras. And with some acrylic and styrene I did this structure that I will use to glue the sensors on. The shape was feeling too round and uninteresting, so I decided to create some flat faces on this structure. And as always, a thin coat of primer to see if the thing is looking nice. From the very beginning I felt that this robot needed two arms on the front. So this is what I did next. One of them will be a flamethrower and the second one will be a type of radar. And you guys already probably noticed, but the arms of this robot will be made using antennas from dead Wi-Fi routers. I added some laser cut acrylic and MDF, and at the tip of the flamethrower I will add a cap from an old pan and also some plastic pieces that I kept. And this is the finished arm, and I will add some wires, some details in the finishing process to make this look more realistic and interesting. The back of the robot was too empty for my taste, so I decided to add some details to that. This plastic container from a Kinder Egg looks a lot like a fuel tank or a gas tank of some kind, so I will add that to this part of the back. And to join it to the body, I'll make this structure out of MDF, and I'll keep this piece separate from the body so it's easier for me to do the paint job. A lot of you guys asked me about this mini disc sander. This is actually a project of mine, and if you want to check that out, the video is on the channel, and you can also try to make your own since the project files are available for free. This right here is another dead web can, and to me it looks a lot like an exhaustion pipe from a car. So I decided to add this to the bottom of the robot to make the back even more interesting. And this time I decided to create the joint out of laser cut acrylic instead of MDF, since this is more durable and resistant. And the joint is done. I will glue this smaller piece to the back of the robot and keep the exhaustion pipe separate from the body again to make my life easier in the paint job. The legs. Now this is the most complex part of the robot by far, and they have 5 joints each. And I really needed to hide the bolts, so I started creating some caps for the joints. On one side of the leg I will have a nut, and it will be fixated with some glue or some epoxy maybe, and from the other side comes the bolt itself, and I had just to hide from both sides. On the side that there's a nut, it is easy. I just had to glue a cap and it's all done. But from the side that comes the bolt, I have to make a cap that will be separated and painted separated, so I can assemble the robot and then glue the cap. Now all joints are covered from the inside and I just had to make the caps from the outside. I also made this structure right here to make the last segment of the leg more strong. And then I added some more details to each segment. This is a robot leg, so it needs to hold a lot of weight and move. So this will have a lot of wires and tubes coming out of and in. And those will be added on the last part of the process after the paint job. Now, if the legs are the most complex part of this robot, the ammo belt certainly is the most delicate one. I tried to make one with my own hands and it turned out not great, so I decided to go on the laser CNC again. These pieces were drawn on SketchUp. I did some variations to see what would work best on the robot. Each piece of the ammo belt was made out of 2 pieces, so I just sanded them a bit before I started gluing. And once I had all segments together, I just hit it with the primer before moving on to the assembly process. I made 3 holes on each segment, so I just had to thread a wire through each hole to make the ammo belt flexible. And I gotta be honest, I was quite surprised of how well this turned out. Then I just had to use some more junk to create the connections between the ammo storage and the Gatling gun. And this concludes the build of the robot. I've counted 64 pieces in total, and this is by far my most complex scratch build project. I am so happy with the end result and very proud of it, and I really hope you guys liked it as well. And I also hope you guys liked the videos. So if you come this far, thank you so much. Of course, this is not the end. I still have to paint this robot, and I also want to make a diorama out of this. So stick around, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share this with your friends. If you really liked what you saw here and you want to support me, I have a Ko-fi link, it's on the description box below. If you don't know, Ko-fi is a platform where you can donate me small amounts of money, and this can really help me to buy the supply stuff for the channel. So this is it for today, guys. I'll see you guys on the next one when I will start the paint job, and as always, thanks for watching.